Bienvenidos nuevamente a su podcast La Plática. En esta oportunidad tenemos una invitada especial que ya pronto la presentaremos, pero antes damos paso a nuestros patrocinadores. Gracias a nuestros patrocinadores, Liga de Justicia, en caso de lesiones laborales, accidentes de bicicleta, resbalón y caída, por favor llame al 1-800-355-1234. Liga de Justicia, tus abogados. Como les comentaba, en esta ocasión tenemos a una invitada súper especial. El nombre de ella es Nancy Vargas. Ella es la CEO de DH2, que es una compañía de transporte. Y como siempre, mi colega Jennifer, te damos la bienvenida.
Bueno, gracias Luis y bienvenido otra vez a su nuevo episodio de La Plática Podcast. Y como dijo mi amigo Luis, tenemos una invitada súper especial, no simplemente porque es una entrepreneur, emprendedora, bien exitosa y latina, pero porque también es residente de Long Island, que es un orgullo para nosotros. Pero we're going to do this podcast, by the way, in English, just for preference, and it's easier access to our guest of honor today. So Nancy, I'm going to give you the time to kind of introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so very much for the opportunity to be here. I'm so excited to join the two of you in this wonderful podcast, and congratulations to the two of you for doing such a fantastic job in what you're doing with your podcast. My name is Nancy Vargas, and I'm CEO of DH2 Chauffeur Transportation. But first, I am a mother. I am a wife. Last year was my 30th wedding anniversary, so we're going on to 31 years in marriage. And my daughter is turning 25 this year. She is absolutely the greatest gift that life and God has given us. She is a wonderful child. She is married. She became a wife in 2023, moved to Florida, lives in Jacksonville, has a practice at JP Morgan Securities as a wealth management advisor. So I'm very proud of her at her young age, all that she has accomplished. Of course, I'm a daughter of Humberto y Rosa that I love so dearly and has taught me so much about life, about faith, about values. I'm very grateful to them and all that they have done for me. Being an immigrant man that came to this country, I am proud to be the daughter of an immigrant man. My father's Ecuadorian, my mother's Puerto Rican. So they've been married for, 50 plus years. And I'm just so proud to be their daughter and all that they've accomplished here in this country, all that they have done for my brother and I. I have a brother as well. We're 10 years apart. I'm the oldest. So, when he was a little boy, I was sort of the mother figure. Then when he became a teenager, they didn't like me too much because I was the disciplinary. But then, of course, as we became adults, the relationship changed. And so happy to have my brother. He's awesome. We're a very small, family from my side. However, for my husband, he's one of 7. Oh, wow. So he was born and raised in Puerto Rico. So every time I go to Puerto Rico, the brothers, the sisters, the kids, now with their kids because they're married. So he comes from a very big family. But when we bring them all together, it's wonderful.
That's amazing.
That is fantastic, Nancy. So tell us a little bit more about your upbringing. Where did you grow up?
Yeah.
And, basically how, what part of New York?
Sure.
And just, more details. About
Yes, no, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So I was born and raised here in New York. Mm-hmm. I was raised in Brooklyn, East New York, Brooklyn.
Very nice.
And yes, my parents, when they found out that they were going to, bring a baby to the world, my dad said to my mom, I've been saving a little bit of money and I think I'm ready to, for us to buy a house. Mm-hmm. So they bought their first home in Brooklyn. That's where I was raised, and so was my brother. But, in the mid to late 80s, the community was changing, and my parents thought, let's move to Queens. So I really say I'm a Queens girl at heart, even though I live in Long Island today. But Queens, was a great place to raise my brother and, have fond memories of Queens. And in 1994, I, got married to my husband. And so for me, it was a fairy tale because he is my my high school sweetheart. He was my prom date. That was beautiful times. And, like all Hispanic households, right, they tell you that you need to, leave the home, married, velo y corona, like los papás de uno les decía. My husband, funny enough, would have a certain day, certain time that he would come and visit me. And so I know that that's not really a thing in today's world, right? But it was. 34 years ago, and so it was like on a Saturday from this time to this time while the parents were home, he would come and visit. So he was definitely very patient. And I think of it very fondly because I know that this is not the world that we live in today. Got married in 1994. Again, Queens girl at heart, as I said earlier. But most recently, in the last 3 years, we bought a home in Long Island in Suffolk County. And so I love it here too. It's a great place to be, wonderful community. I'm a beach girl at heart.
I like you already.
Oh, the beach for me is serenity. It's my zen. And so to have the ability to, in a very effortless way of going to the beach. Because if you think about it, when you're in Queens, you've got the Rockaway beaches, which I would go to. Mm-hmm. But truth be told, I would come to Long Island. So it was yes, it was an effort to have to, gather everything, hour plus drive. And so now, 6 minutes away, it's just a beautiful thing. So I love my summers in Long Island because I have the beach right next to me and it's very effortless.
Fantastic.
That's amazing. But one thing that I'm so curious, is like you literally are the example of wearing every single hat a woman can actually wear. But from being a woman, a mom, a wife, sister, and daughter, where everything in which specific moment I want to say that you decided to become an entrepreneur? Because let's be honest, it's not an easy task. No, it was something that you always wanted to, or it just happened?
So it's really interesting, and thank you for that question, because I always said that my husband had the entrepreneurial spirit. So he is the founder of our company with a town car and a dream. He started the business in 1995. He was a chauffeur himself, on a great love and passion for this business, for the industry, for providing customer service, a customer experience. I thought I was just going to be the supportive wife, right? That's who I was going to be, behind the scenes, support, his dreams. I was in corporate America, thought that's where I would be my whole career. But life took over. I became a mom. And so when I became a mom, funny story is that I put my daughter in daycare after 3-4 months that I was on maternity leave, thought that I would go back. And the day that I go back, I realized that my place was back home. And so I was so heavy-hearted on the A train going into Wall Street thinking, oh my goodness, I just left my little girl at a daycare. And I was so heavy-hearted about someone telling me her first steps, her first words. I was so distraught about that. So I said, I think that my place is to be back home, and I'm going to have to put this on hold. And so I did that. I put my career on hold, decided to stay home with our daughter, raising our daughter. My husband, thank God that he was very supportive and said, Nancy, we got this, no worries, we're good. So I stayed home. But here's what happens. The kids grow up, right? They grow up, and then you realize that now you're ready, right, to go back into the workforce. So my husband says to me, Nancy, before you do that, can you work on a project for me? Now, I'm going to date myself a little bit by telling you what was the project. The project was to move his software, his dispatch software, from the DOS environment to the Windows environment.
Oh, wow.
So we're going way back. We are going way back. And so I was naive. I said, sure, no problem. I will get this done for you. And I got it done. And 20 years later, here I am, not on that project, but working on many projects since then. And so going back to your question about the entrepreneurial spirit, I didn't think I had one. I always thought that I married into it. But then when I started working in the business and, working all the different roles, and believe me, I think I've done every role other than being a chauffeur. Mike has that, so we're good there. I'm so thrilled about the opportunity, because being an entrepreneur has not only showed me many things, right, about being in business and being an entrepreneur, but our business gave me the opportunity to be front and center for my daughter. So if we go back to, that day that I thought I was going to go back into my career and realize, no, I'm mom first. It gave me the opportunity to be front and center, to take her to school, pick her up, right? Go to work, pick her up after school, come home, make a home cooked meal, which I enjoyed, get the homework done. I had her in so many different activities. So again, had I been in the city in corporate America, I would not have had that opportunity.
Absolutely not.
So I really believe that my entrepreneurial spirit, working within the business, is what taught me that I had it in me as well. But I hadn't discovered that until I started working in the business.
And it's so inspirational, because knowing your story, how you gave up your career and then decided to pursue your husband's dream,
Right.
in a way.
Yes.
But then it became yours.
So it's so funny that you say that, because I always said, this is your dream. This was your dream, right? Early on. But then as time went on, as I kind of, got myself into the business, it became our dream. And we are both so passionate about the work that we do, the delivery that we provide every single day, that I used to think it was by marriage. And I found my own love and passion for this industry, for what it is that we do every single day, because my business never sleeps. So it is just really wonderful how it started off as being the supportive wife in her husband's dream, that then through the years, now 3 decades, has become our dream.
I mean, look at the example. You are the one doing the interview and not your husband. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. So tell us, Nancy, a little bit more about now DH2,
Yes.
what it is, what is it that, the services that you provide. And obviously, it's more than 20 years now.
Yes. So thank you so much. So who we are a ground transportation company that serves the entire tri-state area in New York. We are at JFK Airport, so we operate out of Building 79 out of JFK Airport. Our grassroots starts with that town car and that dream. So we were very big on corporate, executive, C-suite level, airports, hourlies, road shows, things of that nature. If I fast forward, 9/11 hit the clock. And that kind of shifted a little bit, right, with all the events happening in New York City. That Mike decided, I think we're going to have to find another stream, right, of services. And so we then moved into the retail space. So now, if you can remember, stretch limousines, right, the Lincoln Stretch, the H2 Hummers, the Cadillac Escalade, all of this, we started focusing more on weddings, proms, events, night outs, Atlantic cities, right? And we were in that space for 15 years.
Wow.
And that was a great space. We were going to bridal shows, building relationships with venues, Wedding Wire, all that would bring the business in for serving the weddings, the proms, and the events. And then 2015 hit the clock. And I felt, and this is just me, I felt I had hit ceiling in our business, right? Is it going to be just another wedding season, another prom season? Again, very seasonal, right? The limousine business was very seasonal at the time. So I felt there was so much more that I wanted to discover. And I also felt that we were leaving a lot of opportunities on the table. So I said to Mike, I love what we've done all throughout the years. We're doing really great, really happy. but I feel like there's so much more. I have a vision that I would love for us to, go to JFK, operate out of the airport, be able to provide other services, right? Monday to Friday, contracts, airline crew, government contracting. When I thought about government contracting, I thought about universities. I thought about city agencies, state agencies. So it took me about a year to convince Mike that limousines was kind of a story of the past and we needed to evolve.
But again, about pivoting, right?
Right. Yep. It was about pivoting. It was about looking at the horizon of the future, of what the future was for Mike and Nancy as entrepreneurs and DH2 as a company. So in 2016, he says, Nancy, I get it. I understand. I see your vision. And I'm on board. Nice. What I didn't know at the time was that he would propose that I become the new CEO of the company, right, as the visionary of the company. And he wanted to then become our chief operating officer so that he would be in the day-to-day operation. You go out there and you do the networking, build the accounts. I'm going to be here to hold down the fort, and I've got your back. So I thought that was a beautiful compliment because that gives me the opportunity to be here today, right, to do other things, to network, to be at different conventions and other opportunities. And so I know that he is kind of stays behind making sure that the day-to-day operation, is being managed. So I think that's the nice sauce that we have, which works really, really well for us.
I mean, obviously has been working really well for like over 30 years now that you have.
30 years. Yeah, this year, 1995, May 1st, 1995.
Oh, congrats.
So this May 1st, 2025 will be 30 years in business.
That's amazing. But I'm pretty sure that with all that pivoting that you were doing and now being the CEO of the company, you also have to encounter like so many obstacles, especially working for government at the airport, and which is something that me and Luis always like talk about in here. It's like, you need to get the certifications. If you don't get the certifications, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit, how was that process? In which moment in time you kind of like thought, you know what, I actually need the certifications, and how those certifications have helped you grow your business?
So that's such a great question. So first I have to shout out Maurice Brewster from Mosaic Global Transportation. He's out in the West Coast, and he and his wife are killing it. They're doing amazing out in the West Coast. But I was at a Las Vegas convention, industry convention, and he had a little private get-together. And in our conversation, he said to me, hey, Nancy, are you MWBE certified in New York? And I was like, MW what? I am not sure what you're talking about. Share a little bit about this. And he said, girl, you need to go back to New York and you need to get yourself certified because you're leaving money at the table. And if you recall, that's what I had said to Mike, right? In 2015, we're leaving money at the table because we're so focused in one niche of our business. And I wanted to expand. So that was music to my ears when he said that to me. And I said, all right, well, how do I get started? What do I do? He says, listen, when you go back to New York, you're going to go like to small business services. There has to be some kind of organization for small businesses in New York, and you'll be able to get more information. Reach out to me and let me know when it's done. So I came back to New York excited, challenged with this new MWBE certification that I had no clue what it was about. And truth be told, it took me about a year on and off. Because as you can imagine, there's so much paperwork. There's so much documentation, right? Putting all of this together.
But it's so worth it.
It really is. It really is. But at the time, I didn't realize, right, that it would be so worth it. But one of my mentors is telling me, girl, you need to do this. Right. So a year later, I see him at another convention, and he's like, are you certified? And I said, no, let me tell you what I've been up to. And so he made me accountable. He was like, I need you to take this to the finish line. Get it done. And that truly was the ammunition that I needed to say, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to finish this. I reached out to someone by the name of Nina Flores, who was my angel. And she was the one that truly was like, okay, Nancy, this is what you have. This is what I need. I need you to come to my office and we're going to put this all together and we're going to submit this. So that's truly how it all started. Now, since then, I have to say that the work doesn't start with all that work that we just talked about in putting the paperwork and the documentation together.
Which is a lot of work.
Which is a lot of work. Yeah. But what happens is that once you're certified, now what?
Right.
And there's such a huge community, right? And all these resources that you have out there. How do I get started? How do I do this? So what I will tell you is that I would go to every single MWBE procurement event in New York City, in Brooklyn, in Queens, in Long Island. I was there. I was making sure that these agencies that were procuring transportation services, which is what I do, and I wanted to make sure that I was having one-on-one meetings, that I was following up, that I would go to their offices, that I would send them their, give them my capability statement, let them know who I am, and then understand, what their needs are. And so with that being said, I have to be, very thankful because with every certification, we have won a contract. My first one was with Port Authority. And that was with Delta Airlines. It was like a 2-3 year contract, providing shuttle services. If you recall, LaGuardia had this huge redevelopment project, right? And Grand Central was a mess, right? If you remember that. LaGuardia is beautiful. JFK is right behind it. We're going through a $19 billion redevelopment project, which
that never ends.
I'll share with you, that we're part of the project as well. But that's where it started. My Port Authority certification, MWBE certification with Delta Airlines, and probably one of my largest contracts at that time.
Wow.
So that's a testament that it works. Then when we got certified with New York State, then I was able to then go to CUNY, to the city universities of New York. And so with them, we'll provide things like their athletic department. They have away trips, right? Away games. And so we'll provide those away trips, take them, pick them up, take them to where they're going to play, wait, and bring them back. And so we have about 5 or 6 of those types of contracts. Then with my city, we also landed on a contract with FDNY, providing transportation services for them. So it's like with every single certification, I had to work really hard to find those opportunities. Because here's the thing, and you know this, the contract doesn't land on right. It doesn't land on your table, right, on your desk.
That easy.
Yeah, I know, right? But it isn't. It is hard work. You do have to go out there. You've got to pound the pavement. You've got to make sure that they know that you're here, that you exist. And even 30 years later, there are still people that say, "Oh, I didn't hear about you." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" But it makes you realize that no matter how long you've been in business, there is someone that doesn't know who you are and what you do. So we've got to be vigilant, that we've got to be out there. We've got to be knocking those doors and attending those events.
You definitely got to show up.
You've got to show up.
In order to make it work.
100%, you have to, because it's not going to come to you, right? And so I can have the shiniest vehicles, right, and the most professional chauffeurs, but if I don't have a contract and if I'm not knocking those doors, those contracts are not coming to us. We've got to chase them.
And that's, I believe, is a great example of letting everyone know the government actually buys everything. Because we're talking about transportation, and you hit every single MWB certification out there, and you're working with each one of them.
Right. Absolutely. And this is what we don't realize coming into it. And it's such a large spectrum, right? That where do I start? How do I get started? But I believe building a community, right? Building a community of other entrepreneurs, right? That you can share ideas and you can speak the same language and talk about the struggles. And, you know, maybe one has been a little ahead and, you know, you can share some of your stories, some of your struggles. I'll tell you one thing. For my New York State certification, took me the longest. Took me the longest. And I recall there was a MWBE procurement event in Albany. And I said to Mike, my husband, I said, listen, we're going to go to Albany. And if the only thing I do, if I don't do anything else, is to speak to someone from Empire State and figure out how do we get this taken care of, I'm winning. Right. If that's the only, if I do no networking at all, if I don't meet one person, doesn't matter. But if I get that done, I'm winning. And so, of course, I did the networking. Of course, I went to all the, you know, the booths. But as soon as I got there, I remember I got there like 7:30 in the morning. By 8 o'clock, you know, things started opening up. And I made an appointment for 1:30 in the afternoon with someone, a representative from the agency. So I did everything else I needed to do. So I was very, you know, efficient in that regard. 1:30 hit the clock. I had my meeting. And at the time, what it was is that they didn't have enough analysts. They were getting all these applications. And so the fact that I was sitting down with an analyst who would look at my paperwork, I was like, are you the person that's going to take a look at my file and, you know, make sure that I turn in everything that I need to turn in so that I can receive my certification? And so he assigned himself to that file. And then I believe like a month later or so, we were certified. So, you know, we were able to make that happen. So I'm sharing that story because, first of all, I think that today things are moving a lot faster, and that's a good thing. But the whole point is you've got to advocate for yourself, right? That's the point from that story, is that you must advocate for yourself. So, you know, for me, it was going to Albany, is taking that trip, is saying, if there's nothing else I'm going to do, I'm going to do this and get it done and take it to the finish line. That's what I was going to do. So I think that, you know, it's very important to understand that you've got to advocate for yourself in your business.
Nancy, thank you so much for your time. And before we go, obviously, given all the wisdom that you already shared with us,
thank you.
We would like to invite you just to give, you know, one final, you know, advice to anyone that is actually thinking about going, you know, to basically to find that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Or to actually make the, you know, take the next step for the certification, and just, you know, in general, as you know, as a business, as a successful businesswoman, what would you advise, you know, to that person?
Sure. No, thank you for the opportunity. You know, I think the first thing that I would say is cast your fears away, because I think fear gets in the way of entrepreneurs, especially when we're starting, right? How do I get the capital? I have this idea, but we don't know everything about business. We have the vision. As entrepreneurs, we're the visionaries. We know where we want to go, but how do I get there? So the first thing is casting your fears, right, aside. If you believe in this product or this service that you want to provide to the world, go out there and do it. Surround yourself by the professionals, because I will not sit here and tell you that I know every single thing. I know what I know, and what I don't know, I surround myself by people that know more than me, so that I can focus on those things that I love to do, that I enjoy doing, that I'm very good at, and I allow the professionals to handle the other things, such as accounting, such as legal services, such as HR, such as social media and marketing, right? We have ideas on how these things work, but you need to surround yourself by professionals. So that's very important. The other thing is also surrounding yourself by a network of people, right? Networking is such an important thing. Take the time to remove yourself from your business to network, because you meet wonderful people with great ideas that have gone through things maybe before you that can say, hey, I tried that, but listen, why don't you do it this way? And maybe this could work for you, right? So being able to build a network is so important because we do get ingrained in our business. Right. And yes, when you're starting out, it needs you. The business will always need you. So understanding when you're able to remove yourself from being in the business so that you can work on the business. I think that's very important. And believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in that dream. We live in a country of soñadores, right? We're dreamers. And so I think everything is possible. You've just got to put the work. You got to believe in yourself and just understand that, if you could put those fears on the side, yo voy a mí. That's what I would say. Fantastic. And they need to do the same thing.
And there you have it. What is the best way to celebrate Women's Month?
Yes.
With such an amazing entrepreneur and such a great example. So thank you, Nancy, for being here. And one last thing, just let everyone know how to get in contact with you, how to follow you, and we can wrap it up.
Absolutely. So you can go to our website, www.dh2limo.com. You can give us a call at 718-928-9966. And you can find us in all the social media platforms, DH2 Chauffeur Transportation. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the time we have shared today. And felicidades en el mes de la mujer.
Gracias. And happy International Women's Month for everyone out there listening to us. Thank you for tuning in for La Plática Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.